All right, there we go. We are on. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Oh, I can't complain. I've spent most of the day watching NFL football, which is as good a way to spend a Sunday as I can imagine. So
I've been
definitely
slacking
not
off most of today, so I understand.
to. Yeah. Well, how's the campaign trail been treating you so far? I mean, we're less than a month out from it. It's really coming down to the wire here in all these different races. I mean, how are you feeling in this final month or so?
um, I'm a lot more calm than I was last time because I ran back in 2020 as well.
Mhm.
Um, Last time it was my first time running for anything, and I was very trying to think of the proper word. I was trepidatious about how it would end for me for that year, and coming out with what is it 3.9% of the vote. Like I felt accomplished after that one. Um, this one, I'm I'm not sure where I'm standing. I haven't been I'm not gonna lie, I haven't been as dutiful in my campaigning this year. I've got more of a presence online this time
Mhm.
than I did last time, so I'm hoping that'll translate a little bit more. But the 22nd district is such a weird district right now. It just got revamped. The district itself lost a really good chunk of the population that voted last election. And I'm pretty sure I got quite a few votes in that area because there's at least 10 people in my neighborhood who are no longer now in that district now. So that's at least 10 votes I lost because of
Right.
redistricting. So I've been joking about that all this whole past year, but I'm feeling good about it. There's only one real competitor in this district other than myself, and that's current Congressman Troy Nels,
Mhm.
who he is a former sheriff for Fort Bend County. His brother is running for county judge right now. The Nels family is kind of ingrained in this area, but I'm hoping to knock more into his overall control of the district this time. The Democrat who is running for the Democrat Party here, she's nowhere to be found. She doesn't have
Oh,
a
really?
website. She doesn't have a Twitter that is dedicated to the campaign. She doesn't have anything, and like nobody can get a hold of her. Nobody's talking to her. She's not talking anywhere. Troy is not talking anywhere either, but he didn't last time. He sat in his freaking house and let everybody else do all the work for him. He didn't go to any debates.
Mm.
I when in 2020, saw Preston Carney, that's his name. Um, he was the Democrat nominee, and him and I saw each other quite a few times for different interviews and pseudo debates.
Mhm.
Um, and I definitely pushed some issues with him and made him kind of reevaluate where he stands on certain issues. And I noticed because he just adopted some of the things that I said to him, and I was but even if I don't if I don't win the uh, the 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 seat in the U.S. House, like I want to be able to do enough change where the candidates are actually paying attention to what I'm saying and
Right.
go and try to implement that in Congress because I believe my ideas are the best outcome for what we want as individuals voting and wanting from our representatives instead of what was it that Dan Crenshaw said recently, if he can't make money from his position, why should he even have that position? Like that's not what you're there for, bro. Like
Right. Right.
you're supposed to be a public servant, not a oh, I'm gonna make sure that I'm making as much money as possible. Like that, and that's been one of my biggest gripes this entire year, and then election cycle. Last election cycle, I kind of pointed at it as well. Was that a lot of these people, all they're in it for is power and money. And
Right.
me personally, I don't care about money. I like it. I will believe me. I'm just like anybody else. I enjoy having money. I enjoy being able to pay my bills. I enjoy buying little things here and there for myself. But money is not the end all be all for me. It's never been that way, and it's not something like I'm always seeking out to make as much money as possible. I just want enough money to be able to pay my bills, feed myself, help, buy nice gifts for my family once in a while,
Right.
instead of just, oh, here's a birthday card. Because I've been there, like, where I'm like, oh, I got $2 and somebody's birthday's coming up, I have to spend it on a card. Like, I've been
Yeah.
poor as heck before. So right now I'm doing okay. Like, there's still, we all have those bills that we gotta keep up with, and make sure that they're getting paid off, so we don't default on credit cards or loans, or lose our car. Like, that
Right.
kind of stuff is always going to be there. But I'm maintaining, so I'm feeling comfortable in my lifestyle right now, and I don't need millions of dollars to fill my bank account.
Right. Well, I imagine trying to, balance all of that stuff while you're running for Congress can be, uh, a little bit of a hassle, let's say. I mean, running for Congress is no small task. Now was Troy who you ran against in 2020
Yeah,
as well?
he was the Republican nominee in 2020 for the 22nd district, and Preston Kulkarni was the Democratic nominee, and I was the only third party member there.
Hmm.
This time we have a guy running as a write-in candidate, but
Oh,
write-ins write-ins don't get many votes, if
right.
anything at all, because they're not on that ballot. So the only people who are going to vote for them are people that actually know who they are, and if they misspell that name, their vote doesn't count.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
that's part of the problem with our current system and the way that it's set up, especially here in Texas. Um, and one of the things that, like, actually got me into running the first time, I did. I'm a streamer. I used to stream a lot more often, but I've had some medical stuff that I was going through that I had to take a break from streaming, and so I used to stream all the time, and I used to do this little, like, kind of streaming show where I talked about politics or social issues and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
I did a whole show about running for office, and I was talking about how I always had this joke that I was going to run for president when I became eligible with my age, which was actually last election cycle at 2020. I became over the age limit so I could run for president. So I was making a whole show about how I made this joke that when 2020 comes around, I'm going to run under the no pants party, which is my whole thing. We're all about not having pants, blah blah blah. And then I started, like, really delving into the cost and, like, what it would actually cost me or somebody else that was going to run as an independent. And it came out like, what was it? I think the average cost to run for president as an independent ended up being something like $15,000 per state.
Oh, wow.
Let alone some states you needed signatures to run as an independent. Some uh, you needed certain stipulations to run as an independent, and that's just to get as a write-in. That's not
Right.
even, like, actually have your name on the ballot kind of thing. Like, you're spending a lot more money and getting a lot more signatures to get your name on the ballot. So I was convinced by some of my friends, and they were like, "Why don't you just run for office? Anyways, you're in this kind of world. You're very active. You're very opinionated, and just go out and do it." So I was like, all right. So I started looking, like, what office I'd like to run for. The previous congressman from my district, which is no longer my district, unfortunately, that
Hmm.
I live in. The previous congressman in 2020 wasn't going to run again, so it was wide open. We had a Bush run in our district in 2020. Troy Nels, who was the sheriff of Fort Bend County, ran. There's a couple other big name people that were running and trying to secure the seat over here. And I've been a libertarian officially for the past 8 years.
Hmm.
But before that, I've been a libertarian since I got out of the army in 2005. I became disillusioned with the Republican Party, which is what I grew up as. I grew up a Republican, and I became extremely disillusioned with them. I looked at the Democrat Party for a while, and I was just like, I don't agree with a lot of their the bigger the government, the better. The more the government has their fingers in, the better for society. That's just from being in the military, being around the military my entire life. My dad's retired colonel in the Army. My brother has been in for 20 years now. Like, having seen all the bureaucratic bullcrap that you go through while you're in the service, like, really made me believe that the government doesn't know how to do anything right. um, and so, like, I'm a small government guy. I'm a small government guy. So I was sitting Republican more, but then, like, I joined the Army in 2002, right after September 11th. I enlisted in March of 2002, and I really had this idea, like, I want to do what's right. You know, these people attacked my country. We got to go and get back them. Mind you, I'm 18 years old. Well, I was 17, 18 years old around that time. I turned 18 in November of 01. So it was like, I was young and I was naive. And so I really thought I was doing my patriotic duty. I always knew I was going to be in the military, but I really thought, like, this was the time I needed to go. So I joined, served as a military police in the Army for 3 years, got out medically. And after I got out, I lost a couple really close friends while I was in, and that really changed the way I thought about things. I really started looking at politicians as people who were extremely self-serving. I saw them as, they don't care about Joe, who's stationed in Germany about to get deployed to Iraq. They don't care about, Cindy, who has to leave her kids to go to Afghanistan for a year. The people in DC just don't care about the people that are actually going and putting their lives on the line. And that really frustrated me. And Ron Paul was running, I think that was the year in 2006 was like the first time I heard of Ron Paul.
Right.
And I started reading a lot of his stuff. I started looking at him and realizing that libertarianism is what I actually was believing in at that time. That I'm what they call a minarchist. Minarchists believe in very small government. Like, their only duty is to protect the people that live in that country. That another one of their duties is to make sure that trade between the states and other nations is happening, and that's all going smoothly.
Right.
It's a very, 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 like, original small government, like constitutional style government, and that really appealed to me. So I started, like, getting more and more into reading more Ron Paul, reading, some of Mises, and reading and Rand, and getting into that whole, like, looking at those people and trying to figure out, what these ideas really meant to me. And I was going to college at the time, so I was being, like, bombarded with people who were like, libertarians are crazy. You libertarians are crazy. Y'all don't believe in any government. And I'm like, I mean, I believe in a little bit of government. I believe that, there should be a little bit of government, but I don't think that the government should be doing everything that they're doing right now.
Right.
So that really started me down this path, and I brought me to the 2020 election where I ran. And that was a very weird election cycle because COVID was happening.
Oh yeah, I bet.
So, like, I didn't want to go door knocking, which is, like, one of the very, like, base things of running for Congress or running for any office is door knocking.
Oh yeah.
Like, you want to go and knock on people's door. You want to talk to them and give them, information on yourself. Mind you, I don't have $1 million donors like these other two-party people do. So a lot of, like, the things that come out of my, that are my, my campaign stuff, like my signs, my T-shirts, that stickers and stuff, that's all out of my pocket.
Right.
Like, so, like, I'm the only person giving money to myself to run for office, so that hinders me as well. I don't have the ability to pay for 1 million flyers to be mailed out. I don't have the ability to hire staff members to come and run underneath me and answer phone calls or randomly call people and talk to people, or go out to all the areas, because the 22nd district is huge. It spans from South Houston all the way out to almost, what is it, Bay City, uh, towards like almost Victoria area. Like it is a massive freaking district.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like it's not as big as some of the ones, like the one between Katy and Austin. That's a pretty large district, or like a lot of West Texas districts are huge.
Right.
But I don't have the money or the manpower to do this kind of thing, to go all over the place. I was driving. I drove one time. I drove down to Pearland for a get together, and gas, I think at that time, was like $3 or $4 a gallon, and I wasn't like making a lot of money at my job at that time. So I was like, really, like, okay, I got enough money to get there, get back, and that's about it. Like, I'll have to scrimp and save for the next week or two till payday, kind of thing. And so, like, it was definitely an eye-opening experience for me that time. This time, though, like, I'm a little bit more laid back. I'm not that. I try my best to engage with people in the district better. I've always answered all the emails. If anybody emails my campaign site, or they put a message on my campaign site, I always answer that. That's me answering. That's not a staff member answering for me. Now that's me
Right.
personally answering. You got any questions? Let me have it. I have no problem answering, and I will be extremely blunt with people. Like I was with Houston Chronicle this past week when we did our interview for their endorsement, which I doubt I'm going to get, but
Right.
like,
Hey,
I'm
yeah,
not going to lie to them about that. So,
yeah, might as well try. What could it hurt?
oh yeah, I feel like I have a really good relationship with the Asian and Pacific Islanders Association of Houston. They
Mhm.
always come to me and ask me questions, and I'm extremely blunt with them. Last election, they had me talk to a bunch of their high school kids that they have in their group, and from one of the KDISD high schools. And like I was blunt with these kids. I was telling them, like, this is what I believe,
Mhm.
and this is what I want you guys to look into. Like, if I don't change your mind, at least look into it, and
Right.
see these facts that I'm going. I try to put out as much facts and as much information and where I get my information from to people when they ask me questions, because I think, if nothing, they will at least understand where my position is coming from, because I try to understand where everybody else's position is coming from when I'm having dialogue with them.
Right. And like with talking with kids, that are in school, you've at least planted the seed,
Hmm.
right? Like you might not convince them that day or that week, but maybe you open their eyes a little bit. You get them to start doing a little bit of research on their own time. I feel like that's how a lot of us, stumble into libertarianism. But at least they have someone there who's giving them some facts and shooting them straight, and just kind of planting that little seed in there. Maybe they, take it and run with it. But if not, at least they have that information.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, you said, with regard to financing your campaign, like you said, you don't have access to the fundraise the expansive fundraising networks that Democrats and Republicans have, and you don't have access to that, all that corporate money, that billionaire money that they're getting, and as a result, you have to pay for everything that you want for your campaign. I mean, I'm sure you get some donations from the website, I'm sure, but for the most part. So how did you decide where you wanted to spend money? Like, what are you prioritizing on your campaign, since it is coming out of your own pocket? What have you found to be the most valuable way to spend money?
For me, I bought I I bought a bunch of signs, um,
Mhm.
and I always will choose a local business over one of these big, like one of the companies that always email me. You should see my my inbox and my email. It's like 20 different companies that are nationwide. Oh, we'll help you get your message out. We'll text everybody within this area. We'll email all these people in the from this area. We'll send letters, and it's like I'd rather go with a local company over anything.
Right.
But I'm a big proponent of supporting local companies. I do a lot of that stuff. I'm very big about staying away from chain restaurants. I I will go visit a chain restaurant. I mean, I'm not going to turn down Whataburger. if
As
you're
a Texan, you can't,
if you're a Texan, you don't turn down Whataburger.
Yeah.
But like, I'm a really big proponent of that. I bought a bunch of signs. I've paid for some advertisement on Facebook, and YouTube. My biggest problem is that I don't if I had my friends that usually do a lot of like videotaping and stuff like that, and helping me with video editing and stuff like that, they've been kind of busy this past election cycle, so I haven't been doing any like, oh, here's my tape response this year. But most of the money that I've found that has been really good has been like doing Facebook ads, honestly, or doing a YouTube ad, or doing a Twitter promoted ad. You just get the engagement when Twitter doesn't want to hide your shit.
Right. Yeah.
So
Oh, I understand that.
I haven't spent as much money as I'd like. What we wanted to do this year was go out to the county fairs and set up booths. But I'm also the treasurer for our county party, so
Oh, okay.
we didn't have the funds to do it for all the counties. So we didn't get out to the counties the way we wanted to, because everything costs money. I'm not gonna lie, like everything costs money. Anything that you want to do to try to promote yourself, it's going to cost you money.
Oh, yeah.
I just started a business this past year that has cost me more money than I want to admit, but I know in the future this business will bring me enough money to help me support myself more in ways that I want, and get away from what I'm currently doing right now as a full-time job, which is being a nanny.
Right.
So it's just been like I want to move on from that, and go somewhere else and make something better of myself, and try to make myself better. I don't want to say make something better of myself, because I feel like I'm a pretty decent person already.
Yeah. No, I mean, starting a business is, I mean, it's a pretty good idea. I mean, I know plenty of people that, took that leap, and it worked out well for them. I think, it's definitely a good thing to do, especially if you want to get out of that. I mean, we've all worked jobs that we don't want to have anymore.
Yeah.
It's a very relatable feeling. So, I mean, no shame in wanting to get out of that. Could you tell me a little bit more about the district? I mean, because I know it's you said it was like Southwest Houston area. I forget where you said it stretched.
Yeah, it goes from South Houston, like almost near NASA,
Mm-hmm.
all the way around the south side of Houston, out towards Fort Bend County, Sugarland, Richmond, Rosenberg, and goes
Okay.
all the way out. I believe it still goes all the way out to Bay City. Um, it's funny because the 22nd district of Texas was actually Ron Paul's district when he was a congressman.
Oh, really?
Mind you, it was in Corpus Christi, because that's where Ron is from. Where the Dr. Paul is from Corpus Christi. But for me, it was kind of like that was the thing that like really, oh, I got to run for Congress. I got to go and
Right.
try to get that seat back for
Yeah.
the libertarians. So, but
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
it's a pretty large district. It's a very multicultural district. We have a large Asian population. A Indian subcontinent population is pretty large as well. Our Hispanic population is quite large. I mean, it is. I think Fort Bend County was the most diverse county in the entire United States this past year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I mean, it's got a very good mix of different cultures interacting with each other all over the place here. There's a very large Muslim community out here. There's a very large Hindu community out here, and so it's been really for me. That's what Houston's always been. To me, I've always felt like Houston's always had a really good mixture of people. Um, but the 22nd district is probably even more diverse than I think anywhere else in the world right now. There's so many people here that are from different cultures, and like my neighborhood itself is we have a Russian guy that lives across the street from me. The guy across the street from me, the guy right across from the street from me is from North Carolina. The guy next to them, it's a Muslim family who are amazing freaking people. They,
Wow.
yeah, like where my neighborhood is, the people around my house, like the I've gotten to know quite a few of them, and we have really good relationships, and it's just really interesting to see that because living like I lived in Arizona for quite a few times for quite a few years. I was out there for 6 or 7 years, and it was like it isn't that way. It's like I lived in the Hispanic side of town in Flagstaff for a long time.
Oh, okay.
I lived in North Phoenix for a while, which is quite. I mean, it's mostly white people in that area where I was living, and it's just so different from what I'm used to living out here. And I've been out here. See, I've lived in Texas 21 years out of my 38, and I've lived in Houston, the Houston area, probably the longest out of anywhere else. I have wanderlust, and that's just because my dad was in the army, and we moved every 3 years.
That
So
sounds
I
about
do the
right.
same thing.
Yeah. Well, is the 22nd district always been fairly conservative, or what's the political makeup around there?
The 2020 election was the first time I think that the conservative stranglehold on the area started to actually break. Kokarni didn't do too bad in the end results. I think he ended up with something around 40% of the vote, which I think was the
Okay.
highest that Democrats ever gotten in the 22nd district.
Hmm.
So it's been really interesting. There is a definite purple feel to the district. Although it'll be interesting to see with the redistricting how that comes out in this election.
Yeah, I think you're right. And yeah, I did want to ask specifically because of Cole Carney. Like I remember hearing about him last election cycle. Like he was a Democratic star on the rise in Texas. And I remember reading things about him like that. So that's why I was wondering. I was wondering if it had always been so conservative, but seems like maybe it's trending a little more purple.
Yeah, this district is definitely turning more purple. Kulkarni took a big hit while he was running here. There's been a the Indian population in this area is a good mixture of Hindu and Muslim,
Mm,
and the what's going on in India. If you're not in the whole geopolitical news, there's a lot of conflict between the Muslim population of India and the Hindu population of India, and one of the groups who are the party of Modi, who is the current leader of India,
right.
um, has a very controversial stance that a lot of the Muslim community do not find to be beneficial to them, um, as they're being targeted by the RSS in India
Mm,
currently, and that has transferred over to American politics because there's a group that has links to Modi's party, that has been putting a lot of money into Democrats here in the U.S.
Oh
And
wow.
it came out that Kulkarni got a big donation from that group. So a lot of the Muslims in the area turned their back on Kulkarni,
Oh
and
man.
were very very loud about it too. So his whole campaign took a pretty large hit in 2020 because of it.
Yeah. How much better do you think he would have done in the end if he didn't have to go through it? Because you said he got about 40% of the.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it was around 40%.
Do
Because
you think he would have done well enough to like flip it, or how much closer do you think maybe he would have gotten?
I think there might have been a runoff.
Oh
Had
wow.
he not had that come out about him. Yeah, but I mean, it's speculation. I'm hoping that a lot of those people voted for me, and I'm hoping that they've paid enough attention to me since they voted for me, and that they actually like what I have put out there. And I if any of them happen to listen, and if anybody happens to see me and says, "Hey, maybe I should ask this guy what he believes," because I had a lot of them, I had a lot of people contact me last election cycle about where I stood with it, and how I felt about the Muslim community,
Hmm.
and me personally, I don't hold a hatred towards any group of people. I don't believe that hatred is a good way to look at people. Um, I think that every individual should be judged on their character, and not who they pray to or what they look like. And that's just something that my dad always instilled in me, and that's something that I'm not going to lie. While I was in the service, I lost a little bit of that belief, but after leaving the service, I definitely turned around and was like, no, that's not the right way to view anybody. Um,
Right.
and so now I'm a big anti-war person. Like I know that's been something that libertarians have been always known for, but my personal reasons is because I'm tired of seeing my friends die, and I'm tired of my friends, committing suicide because of the things that they went through while they were in. Like I'm tired of seeing that, and I don't want my kids, my grandkids, my anybody that I know to go through the stuff that my friends, my family have gone through over the past 20 years. I have friends that have their kids going to the same places that they were freaking deployed at. Like
Oh my God.
like that's crazy to me to think that we back in '04, like my unit got deployed to Iraq, and I have friends whose kids are going to the same place, and I'm like, that that's insane.
That is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
God, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's not something that we should be doing. I imagine that that issue is a big part of your campaign. I'm wondering, sort of, what are some of the other top issues that you're focusing on, as you go out into the district and talk to voters, and what are you really prioritizing as you make those trips?
My number one priority is repealing the Patriot Act.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people don't understand the the problems with the Patriot Act. I think there is a larger group of people now who have a problem with it that didn't have a problem with it back in 01 and '02 when it got pushed and passed.
Hmm.
Um, I've always been against the Patriot Act, even since 2001. I felt like taking away due process, taking away people's right to trial, taking away, the habeas corpus being suspended for these individuals, um, the right to privacy, the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, all there are a whole bunch of these freaking amendments have been completely ignored. I know
Right.
not the sixth, because I believe the sixth one is about a civil cases and the amount of money that they have to be before they can be tried by a jury of their peers. But like Fourth and Fifth Amendment, the Seventh Amendment, like these amendments that are supposed to protect our rights from the government's overstep, completely ignored by the Patriot Act. the government, I mean, at Snowden, his whole thing, like them freaking collecting all of our data and throwing it into computers and then running algorithms to see if we're saying anything wrong. Like that kind of stuff was enabled by the Patriot Act, and that's wrong. It goes against everything that this country is built on. So that's my number one thing that I always bring up. I always bring up because we as a society are looking to make sure that we take care of our planet better. I bring up that nuclear power is the way to go to make our energy cleaner. And I know that a lot of people have been pushed away from nuclear because they're afraid of things like Chernobyl or Fukushima.
Right. Yeah.
There's been 3 major nuclear emergencies since we started using nuclear power. 3.
Right.
Out of the entire history of nuclear power, 3. Like we have more problems here in the city of Houston with freaking refineries blowing up every year. So to me, I'm like, why aren't we pushing for more nuclear? And they're, oh well, because solar and wind, that's the way we should go. And I'm like, you realize like how wasteful solar and wind are right now. Like they are like, resource wise. I think what was it? Somebody one of the people that works on the wind turbines up in West Texas, they were telling me it takes like 300 gallons of oil for one wind turbine.
Oh my God.
We're still using oil. Don't quote me on the number, but he said it was a lot of freaking oil for each wind turbine. And I'm just like, and this is supposed to be the cleaner energy,
right.
and wind and solar, like you can't generate that 100% of the time either. Wind is not 100% of the time going all the time. The sun only sits in our sky for how long every day? At most, what is it, like 14 hours a day?
Yes, something like that.
And during the winter, it's a lot less than that. So, like, and the problems that you have with the wind turbines killing millions of birds every year, the solar farms out in the desert doing the same thing because of the way that we are collecting the solar power. And I know that nuclear is not a zero sum game when it comes to resources and land that's taking it up. But when I look at everything, when I look at how much our nuclear technology has expanded over the years, it is a lot cleaner than anything else that we have right now, and our batteries are nowhere close to where they need to be
Absolutely.
able to really use solar and wind to the fullest of their extent. So that's usually the second thing I talk about. Third thing is kind of a mixture between reforming criminal justice system and reforming our immigration system, because to me they kind of go hand in hand. I think that we really do need to focus on approaching our criminal justice system to reform and to lower recidivization. Because our recidivization right now is it's crazy. And a lot of that it has to do with the fact that we're not actually doing anything to help the people that go, that are put in our prison system. Right. We don't help them while they're in. We don't help them when they get out. Our society kind of turns their back on them when they come out. They're not allowed to vote if they're a felon, even if they're a nonviolent felon. Even if their felony is for something like they got caught 3 times with weed.
It's absolutely crazy.
Like that takes away every other right for the rest of your life because you had weed on you 3 different times, so you got hit with that old 3 strikes you're out freaking rule. Like that to me needs to be fixed. We need to go and try to help these people, and get them and bring them back to society and help them make something for themselves, because a lot of them, they lose 7, 8, 10, 15 years. That's a
Yeah.
big chunk of your life. You don't realize it. Like, what were you doing 7 years ago? I can tell you what I was doing 7 years ago. 10 years ago, I was married. You know, so like a lot can change in that little amount, like that little amount of time. Like, but somebody gets stuck inside like for that long, like that's a big chunk of their life they just lost. You
Yeah.
know, so we need to do better for them. Um, to make it easier for them to come back into society with immigration. I think that the U.S. is one of the easier nations to get to immigrate to.
Hmm.
After looking into what it would take to go to like New Zealand or to Australia or like because I've done it because I have wanderlust, so I want to go travel. I want to go move somewhere for a couple of years. So I've looked into like what it would take for me to get a visa to go live somewhere for a couple of years. The U.S. is a little bit easier, but we're still it's a long process to come into this country legally, and it costs a freaking ton of money, and
Oh yeah.
that's why we have so many people willing to risk their life to come over illegally because they can't afford it. They can't wait that time, you know. So I think that we should fix our immigration system, make it easier for people who just want to come over here and try to better their lives. We were lucky. I mean, I don't know your story, but like my family, we were lucky. We were born in this country.
Hmm.
Um, the last time one of my family members came over to the U.S. was early 20th century. One of my great great grandparents came over during the Mexican Revolution wars, um, and I think before that, one of my dad's maternal grandparents came over from Germany back in the late 1800s. Like so, I,
Wow.
my family's been lucky to have been born in this country. You know,
Yeah.
why shouldn't other people have the chance to have the same lives that we had the chance to live out? Because I can tell you, compared to a lot of the places I've been in the world, between Kosovo and East Europe, between Costa Rica, between you know my world travels, I'll tell you, the U.S. we have it a lot better than a lot of other places in this world do. And I mean a lot better.
Yeah. Right.
Like the people talk about how even the poorest people here in this country are richer than most people in the world, and that's not a lie. It's not an exaggeration.
Oh no, it's not. I forget what the number is, but you see it floating out there every now and then. But or the average pay across like the entire world is not nearly as much as you would think it is.
Yeah,
I mean, it would like it's a low number to live on here in the states. I can't imagine trying to make that work. Somewhere else where conditions are not nearly as nice. Or I mean, just think about what would talking about immigrants wanting to come over here and do it illegally and not spend the ridiculous amount of money or wait the time. I mean, just imagine what it must take for somebody with a family or whatever their situation is to walk hundreds or thousands of miles to the border, just for an opportunity to make it here in the states. I mean, it's a shame that we don't make it easier for them. It's a lot of politicians like to fearmonger, along the border, and I mean that's just not the way we should go about it. You're right. You're absolutely right that we're way, way overdue for a change in our immigration laws. I mean, when is the last time we even had any significant immigration reform? I mean, you might have to go all the way back to Reagan,
yeah.
before
I
you
think
hit
I think
anything major.
I think Reagan was the last time they even looked at it. Um, but even before that, like they were very particular. What is I'm a history buff, like, and I went to school for history. During the Civil War in the United States, there was a huge group of Irish people that were coming over, and a lot of Americans were like very adamant about not letting the Irish into the country, and so the federal government, to allow them into the country, basically signed them up for the draft and sent them off to war. Like that was their way of earning their citizenship. And that's not the first nor the last time that we have done that to people coming into this country who are escaping, whether it's a famine or a war. Or, I mean, World War II, we turned away a whole ship of Jewish people fleeing Germany and Europe.
Right. Yeah.
Like turned them away. Like our Statue of Liberty says, "Give me your poor and your weak." Like, nah, we don't want that poor and weak. We want them to stay over their country. Don't come over. Don't bring, don't make our country any different. That to me, that's not the America I want. And that's not the Texas I want. That's not my Houston. Like I've been talking about it since the beginning. I love the diversity in my city. This place is freaking awesome to me. I get to go visit all over the world just by driving around my neighborhood, kind of thing. So, like, to me, that's what I want to see in this country. But comparatively to like most other countries around the world, we're pretty diverse in the U.S. We have a good mixture of people from all around the world. Why not make it better? Like, why not make it more of that? Most other countries, especially like European countries, is very like homogenous.
Right.
And to me, I'm just like, you're missing out. I have a buddy in Germany who's like, man, I love Mexican food. I was like, dude, come to Texas. I was like, like, it will blow your mind on what Mexican food really is, dude. And I know I know I have people in Arizona who are gonna who talk crap about freaking, Tex-Mex is not real Mexican food, but
well, they can get out of here with that. I live in San Antonio, so those are fighting words,
right?
Yeah, come eat down here and tell me they ain't got great food.
I'll tell you though, New Mexico hatch chili, man, I'll take that over anything. Give me some of that hatch chili, man.
Man, no, I haven't made my way out that far, but I definitely need to.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely something that I think everybody should experience, is freaking that green chili from New Mexico. My ex-wife introduced me to that stuff, dude, and I love her every day for that.
Well, man, just one final thing before you go. I just got one more thing I got to ask you about. I know you you toyed with the idea of running for president in the past. 2024 is right around the corner. Are you thinking you might give it a shot, or are the requirements still going to be too strict, or what are you looking forward to doing? Any plans for the next cycle?
Next cycle, I'm not. I don't ever want to be president, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's a reason why all our presidents age like 200 years in their 4-year terms.
Goodness.
That is not a job I want. I don't want that job. You're blamed for everything. You're supposed to have no power. Basically, like if we go by constitution wise, the president is supposed to have very little power. No, I don't want that job. I'm probably going to run county or state level in 2024. I've enjoyed doing the national level. I have enjoyed, testing my mettle against the people that basically live and freaking work DC for the past 20 years. Or 30 or 50 or 100 for some of them. I'm not going to name any names. But like, I've enjoyed like challenging those people and really putting some fire under them. But I think for me personally, something more local is going to be where I can actually make real change, and win a seat and get in there and start to basically break down a lot of the stuff that's been implemented over the past 100 years and that I believe is wrong. Freaking, like I had, who was it? Houston Chronicle asked me about the decriminalization of marijuana in Texas, and I'm like, I'm all for it. I think that we should decriminalize all drugs to make it easier for those people who are addicted to get the treatment they need. But that's something I really want to attack on a more local level in 2024. But who knows? Somebody might convince me to step up and go back for Congress again for a third time. We'll see. There we have a good county party down here. I have some really good friends in the area that have supported me for the past 3 years since I first basically said that I wanted to run for Congress. My family's been behind me for the past 4 years, so they've been really helpful and really supportive, and I think that to me is something that I think anybody that wants to run for office needs to have. They need to have a good support group around them, people who are willing to, hey, I'll go knock on doors for you, or hey, here's $100, maybe, buy some of that Facebook ad time, like having those kind of people they'll support you through thick and thin is very important. And I think that everybody should, I think everybody should try to go and run for an office, whether it's local or, school board or, PTA, like just go and experience it. Go, do, just be active in your community. Be extremely active in your community. Go and sit in during council meetings and, listen to what these people actually have to say, because most of them, they're thinking about themselves. They're thinking about putting money in their own pocket and not really doing what needs to be done in the community.
Oh yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. Getting regular, everyday people more involved in their community and in the political processes that go on at the county, local level is just so incredibly valuable. Well, take this last minute or so here. Tell people where they can find you. Shout out the Twitter, the website. Everywhere they can find you. Go ahead and let people know.
I am Pirate King everywhere. That's PIE as in pie, rat as in the mouse, and king. That is literally what my name is everywhere, on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. My website is LeBlanc for Texas. That's the number 4, Texas.com. You can find me there. And definitely go check out my website. I need to go back and do some more changing to it, but hit me up on Twitter. Email me at Joe LeBlanc at LeBlancforTexas.com. I will answer questions no matter when I get it. I am usually not in bed until 2:00 in the morning, and I wake up at 8:00 every morning. So I'm available.
I definitely understand that.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah. Wait. One last thing before Pirate King.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
So, my group of friends in the Army, we were really into the punk scene, and we called ourselves the Landlocked Pirates. But we thought it'd be funnier if we spelt it pirate instead of pirate. When I got out, I was trying to think of a new gamer tag for Xbox Live, and Pirate King fit, and I have owned it ever since. That's been what it has been since then. When I started streaming and became partner on Mixer, I was like, now this is, if like my SEO is Pirate King. I'm the first 6 freaking links there. So, and you'll see an octopus, because that's also my brand. I'm a big cephalopod lover. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really great. Pirate King on Twitter and everywhere else. LeBlancforTexas.com if you want to check him out there. Joe, really thank you for coming on the show. It's been awesome talking to you. And whatever you get up to in 2024, would love to have you on again sometime.
Oh, I'd love to be back on. Don't worry.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, man. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.